I would like to start first to congratulate Hungarian colleagues Gergely and Laszlo for organizing this event. Already, just to see the audience, it's already a success to bring these people here. So congratulations on that. And also for me, it's a very always a bit emotional to come. I'm actually originally just a bit south from Budapest, about 200 kilometers. So it's always for me a bit emotional to come to Budapest in Hungary and to see you. And you want to congratulate you on your research also. Hungary has been really leading in many fields in soil science and pedometrics. So it's and we will see that in the sessions, I think, also today. Yeah, I'm the director of OpenGeoHub. We are a non-for-profit foundation. And I'm going to talk about in Netherlands, and I'm going to talk about the 7-step framework for soil health assessment, and a bit about what is called autonomous GIS, if you ever heard of that. As you know, tomorrow is World Soil Day, so also very symbolical to be here just before the World Soil Day. There will be events. I think there's my partner is in Riyadh just now, and tomorrow they have events for World Soil Day. And also, I just saw on LinkedIn, the colleagues managed to push some landmark achievements for global soil security. So that's there's a lot of things, and I think Arvin also mentioned that soils are really on the table now. They're very important. And I didn't know that when I did a PhD in pedometrics, by the way. I didn't know it's going to be so popular now. So that was a good choice, I guess, 20 years ago. And we're very blessed to have this project funding from European Citizen, AI for Soil Health, and we are 28 organizations. And I'm the guy, by the way, I'm the guy behind this name, AI for Soil Health. It's not the most brilliant name. I mean, you have today AI for this, AI for that. And I'm also prone to this vanity and this buzzword AI that everybody is using without even understanding what it means. But let's say if we can make a difference. And the project is led by, if you didn't know that, the project is led by Aarhus University, by Moens Greve. He's here with us also, and his team. So they lead the project, and we have 5 work packages. And I lead work package 5, which is on data services and basically producing data for the AI for soil health and also APIs and things. There's other work packages we try to deal with the field data collection, also with connecting with the policymakers and stakeholders, and then also the education and reaching out to people where we have colleagues from a UK Soil Association. Soil health, as you saw in the last presentation, which is very good, a bit fast talk. I will recommend next time maybe a bit slow down. But it's obviously it's a group is very active, and I see lots of fantastic work. And I also agree, soil health is also for me. When I did my PhD, you know, there was no soil health and there was no mention of that. I think I heard about it only a couple of years ago, to be honest, and I still find it quite controversial. So I went to study it a bit and what exactly is soil health and what it's not. And then I noticed that people mix it a lot with soil fertility, soil quality. And I'm not sure that's the idea. So we can discuss that. I personally don't like to mix the soil health with the soil quality. So I'll explain that. And so at the moment, if somebody asks what is soil health, the answer is it's whatever you want it to be. So that's not good. We would like to change that. And so I think some of the division they're very loose. They're too generic. There's also, I read this paper, Econometrics of Soil Health. So soil health is holistic, multidimensional, eclipsing mere soil fertility. I fully agree. I think that's what we should be focusing on. Soil is not just a medium. It's not just a material or something you buy. It's not like cement, you know. So you should be, we should be thinking more holistically. And also very interesting, one of the things pops up, solar farms. Do they damage soil? Do they damage soil health? And you can make guesses, but if you go to the companies that sell the panels, they will say, no, 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 they're very good for the land, actually. So it boils down to, let's say if you use some metal in these solar panels and this metal releases some heavy metals, I don't know, you could damage environment. But let's say if the metal doesn't, so is it the shade? I mean, will it do damage? I mean, all the rainfall will, fall on the ground. It's a big issue because in Germany, they have a lot of now land on the solar panels. So there's a paper in Italy, they said actually it does affect negatively soil. But anyway, that's just in Italy, some area. But it's very interesting, something like this, and you go like, is it bad or good? And it's a very important question. And they will ask us. We are the soil health now experts in Europe, and beyond. And they will ask us, is it these solar panels, is it bad for soil or not? And we will have to know very soon, not like in 3 years, like in few months, we'll have to know to answer. Then the other thing about soil health, what I notice, like the easiest thing will be to have just what we talk about, the soil health index. So we could simplify, simple is always better than complex. We could simplify things with just having one measure. You just call it a soil health index. And they try to do that at Cornell University. They have this comprehensive assessment soil health. It's one of the most comprehensive and best documented approaches, and they even have this visual thing with explaining with the colors, what's good, what's bad, and they come to a single number. So this soil here, soil side they evaluated has an overall quality score 59, so 59 out of 100. So that could be very nice. And our colleagues at Nike in the Basque country, they also have a very similar system, and so there's this idea to simplify it. And I was just at the Triple Society meeting last year in St. Louis. I don't know, some of you maybe went also. It's a great, of course, a conference, almost 2,000, 3,000 people. And I see these colleagues from Hawaii, and they hacked it. I said, great, they use a spectral scanner. And they directly made a model. You just scan the soil, and you calibrate it, and you predict soil health score R squared 0.91. So it's solved. So we just need to get a spectral scanner, and you scan it, and you know whether your soil is healthy or not. But it is only in Hawaii, and a question, how would that work for different soils? And also the question, what is this soil health score? How do they estimate it? So there's a lot of questions here behind. But that will be a simple evolution, that you just make a scan and off you go. So this is something I just made yesterday. So when I started, I wanted to teach myself about soil health. And then as a scientist, I look a bit higher. So I go, well, soils are like ecosystem. They're not an organism. So it's ecosystem. So there is an ecosystem health. You go to the Wikipedia for the ecosystem health, and it says there is no universal accepted benchmark for healthy ecosystem. So it's also very controversial. However, they do say, no, there is commonly accepted things about ecosystem health. And it boils down to three things: productivity, resilience, and organization. So it's not so bad. So it does make sense. So let's say soil health, it is tangible. It is something we have to worry about, and we should develop tools to measure it. But we should separate it from soil fertility. For me, that's only utilization. Fertility is just, it's very specific, it's very narrow. You can just, if you add, for example, fertilizer, you can increase the fertility of soil and you can produce more, but that doesn't changes maybe the soil health. It's just a little component of that. And then also soil services, you know. But let's take a look at how to engineer soil health, how to engineer. And then I looked at, after that, I look at this ecosystem health. I look a bit, what is the human health? What do you define human health? And you'll be surprised, it says two levels. And number one level, so the zero level of definition of or level one, it's a lack of diseases. So you're healthy if you don't have parasites, diseases, etc. If you don't have cancer and things. So you go and you do a check, and if they don't find any disease, you're healthy. It's very simple. But there is beyond that, there is so-called optimum definition. This is also not you don't have diseases, but you're also strong, you're resilient, you are fit. That's a fitness. You're also mentally, physically fit. And this is so you have like a zero level, you just don't have diseases, and then you have the optimal level. So that's I think that's a good framework for me to do the soil health. And I recommend we use it. I recommend that we do for soil health, we do a level one. We just look whether there's a soil degradation, and we find which is the soil degradation. And if there's no soil degradation, we say this soil has no degradation. So it's a healthy, but we don't know whether it's at optimum. So we just know there's no soil degradation. And then for the optimum, we can look for the productivity. That did it reach its optimal productivity? Did it reach optimum water holding capacity, water filtering capacity, and biodiversity? And then we compare it with the sum optimum, and they say, well, it doesn't have any erosion, but it's only 60% of the optimum. And that to me sounds like a good way to do that. And then beyond that, so now that I said, okay, now I have this, I conceptualize this soil health. Now, how do we do this in practice? How do we engineer it? And then again, I think about the doctors and how they do it. So when you go with the doctor, you know, when you go see the doctor, of course, the doctor, when you go to doctor, let's say in an organized country, the doctor first will look in your file, and you will look at all your history, right? They will look, okay, what did you do last 20 years? Did you have some operations? Do you have allergies? Do you have? So you have to first look back in the past. Then you listen to a person, but usually then you say, go and do some tests. You do blood test, this thing. Then they get the blood test next day or after a few days. Then they have this holistic thing, the doctors. They say, okay, now I see your history, and I look at your test, and I see some indicator, something's happening, some inflammation, infection, I don't know. And then they recommend therapy. Once they determine the problem, they recommend the therapy. Then they send you for therapy, then you come back in 1 month, come back in 1 month. This is how we deal with us. And we could deal the same way we could do with the soil health. So we could do the same, more or less. So that's the 7th framework. So we could go and look at what happened last 30 years. It is possible, mainly thanks to the Landsat mission. We can look what happened last 30 years. What was the process? How much tillage was implemented last 30 years? We can look at for every pixel in the world, actually, we can see that. How much land cover change, land use change. Then we can estimate what is using, now there's more and more satellites with the combination Landsat, Copernicus, Sentinel missions. We can determine what's happening now, what's the land use now, what are the crops. And then we can determine projected soil potential. We can model history of the soil, and we can say, this is what we think will happen with this soil in 10, 20, 30 years, even including our climate change scenarios. And then we can say, okay, now go and collect more samples and send the samples to the lab, give us like the previous colleague explaining, give us the values you get, and then we can do reanalysis. We can reanalyze, recalibrate, because now we have local data, we only had the global data. And then we can suggest something. We can suggest the farmer do this. And then come back next year. Let's see. And we can follow that. We can track it, and we can see whether it's going well or not. And then if it's needed, we can do resampling or we can say change the strategy. It's not going well. And that's the seventh framework, basically seven-step framework for soil health assessment and dealing with soil health. This is it. That's the best I could come up. I've been just now repeating like a parrot. I hope it will get into your heart also. But yeah, that's more or less it. And in that framework, we started now with this first step. We prepared 14 terabytes of data for Europe. It's a monster project. You know, we are processing. We have our own copy of Lancet. It's a 1.4 petabyte, and we processed it ourselves. And we started with Europe. We derived some 15 indices, including the tillage index and vegetation indices, etc. So you can read about it. There's a publication. You can read it. Access is all open data. We are very much open data project. I'm very proud of that. Also, we do build up a lot on Lucas soil and JRC outputs. If there was no JRC, by the way, all this stuff wouldn't be possible. And Lucas soil is one of the internationally also when I go to different continents, you know, Latin America and US, they are really jealous that Europe has this now benchmarking system and that we follow what's happening with our soil already 20 years now. And I only regret I don't have access to the 2022 data. And I'm, you know, data hungry, very data hungry. So I will wait one more year after that. I will start knocking on your door. This is the tillage index. So we can do every 2 months now. We can see the tillage. The reddish color, it's a more higher tillage. So we can see every 2 months how much tillage is implemented. There's a NDTI, normal difference tillage index. So you can derive it from the Lancet images. And this is another thing is the FAPAR, which is like effective photosynthesis basically. And you can see here there's a deforestation in Brazil. We have another project where you can see this FAPAR going down, you know. And it is kind of like going to doctor, right? I mean, the doctor will look at your some blood picture or something and say, look, you know, from the last time it's going down now, or you have some inflammation. So you can see here there's FAPAR, it dropped, you know, and it's no mistake. It's not just because 1 year drier or wetter. You can see it after from 2006 up to now, you know, the FAPAR became it's smaller and dropped and seems to be also more like there's more constant, you know, and now it's varying. And so you can do this trend lines, and we also computed the potential FAPAR for whole world. This is a very interesting paper, by the way. I'm really proud of this work. So we computed the potential FAPAR. So we computed what will be the FAPAR of the planet without people, the so-called Earth without people concept. And so just assuming natural vegetation. And you can always compare yourself with the natural vegetation. And if you do worse, much worse, something's wrong. You know, even though you make money with these products, but then still you should question yourself if the gap becomes really big. So we're much worse than nature. We mapped also soil organic carbon. We mapped it in 4D. There's no 5D, by the way. If somebody tells you there's a 5D map, don't believe it, doesn't exist. But the 4D, it's a space or 3D plus time. So we mapped the soil carbon changing over Europe, again, thanks to Lucas, thanks to colleagues from Germany giving us access to their national data. And then when we map the carbon through time, we have it in different depths and every 4 years. You can see for 2 locations in Germany, you can see one location on the cropland, it's losing carbon. And it's no mistake, it's significant. So even though the confidence intervals, prediction intervals are wide, we can say it's no mistake. There is a loss of carbon here. And then on some other spot, there is a gentle increase of carbon. We also map the soil types at 30 meter. You can see the poster in the afternoon. And a couple of things we already produced in area for soil health. I'm really proud because the high resolution is open data. It's all on GitHub and Zenodo. We are also very enthusiastic about soil spectroscopy, although my heart is a bit broken with soil spectroscopy. I was thinking it's going to take off. But I still see the entrepreneurs, you know, they look at it as a, you know, profit opportunity, and there's actually very little movement into something affordable, something that every farmer could have. So they are quite still expensive and limited. And unfortunately, many companies, they don't release their calibration models. So you have to, once you own them, it's like you have to trust them infinitely, basically. So it's a bit, idea is to have this soil spectroscopy that somebody will go on the field and just have a spectral scan and get very quickly real-time estimate of soil properties. And our colleague from Switzerland, they are also working on also rapid assessment of enzyme activity. So that's a really nice also development, and that's why we call them also in the project. We are very supportive towards the companies that want to make this assessment faster, more affordable for everyone. In human health, now you can buy a ring. I don't know, does anybody has this ring? You put a ring and it will track your health non-stop, your heartbeats, your temperature, you know, your stress level. It's crazy. You just put a ring, it costs $200 or 200 euros. And we don't have anything like that, not at least for 200 euros, maybe 5,000. So that's really changing, and hopefully that will come. Then what's also changing is the AI technology, and in a GIS world, there are two things: autonomous GIS and geospatial foundation models. Have you ever heard of that? If not, I can forward you something to read, but you can, today they're training these LLMs and foundation models. They train them also with geospatial data. You have interfaces where you don't even have to type anymore. You can just talk and you will say, hey, show me where's the places where we have a biggest changes in soil pH across Europe. And once we finish this soil data cube for Europe, and once we have this AI LLMs trained on top of it, it should be like for millions of people to, without knowing GIS, to get all this information. And they will not just get a text like in ChatGPT. They will get an interactive dashboard. It will be generated by AI technology. It's already happening. You have already services where you can just type in things like the ChatGPT, the Census GPT. You would just type in, show me places with the highest risk of crime. You know, you just type that in, and what happens now? It's not pre-computed. It's not pre-computed. So it will convert human text, it will convert to computer text, it will create a code to run the processing, it will produce an output of the data, and it can produce also visualization using leaflet and all this plotting. So behind it, it's like whole autonomous GIS, you know, whole processing. And this is, as I said, it's coming, and it is really, it's going to be very useful because you cannot train in Europe. There's 9 million farmers, I think. You cannot train 9 million farmers GIS. You cannot train them. You know, it will take you a decade. I don't know. But if you connect this amazing data, complex data, with the geospatial foundation models, and if you make it open, you could have really millions of people interacting with this data and finding patterns that you cannot find. At OpenGeoHub, we have increasingly problem that we have so much data, we don't have time to open the maps anymore. I was telling my staff, this is scary. We have this data, I never opened this data. I never even looked at it because it's multidimensional, it's so many variables, and it's also time variable. So we have even problems that we cannot handle this anymore, like as a human being to just open and look. But AI technology, I like to tell to everyone, you know, this is the correlation between chocolate consumption and Nobel Prize laureates, and it is very high correlation. You see Switzerland on top. But this is not the casual. If you eat more chocolate, you're not going to get the Nobel Prize. You know, don't do it, please. So the bottom line is we do still have to go back to the basics and back to soil science, to the roots, back to statistics. We cannot think AI is going to think for us. It's even worse. I tell students, You think that AI will make you don't have to code anymore. No, no. Now it means you have to code even at higher level, because AI is not going to explain you. And if it makes a mistake, you are responsible. All the gibberish that comes from AI, you're responsible. So you have to boost your levels of soil science and statistics, you know. It's not that you can just ignore it. It's actually, you have to become better at it. It's going to be more stressful. Anyway, we're organizing also another event next year in April, a bit of promo. Please come. We expect a relatively big event, 4 days actually of interaction, discussion panels, workshops, training sessions, oral talks, keynotes, and we'll have also technology corner. We'll have some companies come and present their cutting edge products. So please, if you miss visiting Netherlands, next April is a good excuse. Thank you so much one more time. Thank you for inviting me.